So let's zoom back out again. We've been digging down into the session IDs and the session cookies. What can we look at generically? What can we look at from a design perspective to say, okay, let's prey upon things. Let's work in a particular area. Well, look at the algorithm that they're using. And when we get into the wireless section, realize that they used a great algorithm, RC4, but they weakened it by stripping out a big chunk of the encryption. No form of account lockout. CAPTCHA is not your friend. And for the web, most of the time we don't do account lockout. A short key space. If your session IDs are only 10 characters long, that's very short. We can use brute forcing to get into that. Indefinite expiration on a server. In other words, don't ever let these cookies expire. That's great for e-commerce, and that's great for us as attackers. That's bad for the defenders. Transmitting in the clear. Anything that's sent in the clear or base 64 encoding, as soon as they're doing that, you win. As soon as you see base 64 encoding. And then also insecure retrieval. Change my password kind of stuff makes it really difficult. Okay, so now we need to flip ourselves over and say, okay, what are they doing to stop you from your activities? What kind of resistance can you expect? So from a user perspective, they're going to tell them to log out of all the sessions. They're going to tell them not to use the remember me. Every user uses remember me. I think even I do on a lot of sites. Make sure that you're using SSL. I actually worked with an accountant, and we got rid of the accountant because they said, oh, you can submit your tax returns here. You can upload them to this file loader right here, not using any HTTPS. I changed. All the rest of the people at tax season, because it was that time of year, probably didn't care and they just uploaded. Users are being taught to patch and turn on automated patching so that we can't use that, but that doesn't help against the websites themselves. Emails with session IDs are good for us as attackers. They're bad for defenders. They're bad for users. And as soon as they see session IDs, they should drop them. They should say that username and password, something's inappropriate there. We don't want that to happen. I actually had a security organization send me my session ID with all of my authentication credentials built into it. I have mentioned that security organization throughout these 20 domains here. So know that there's somebody out there that's still doing this. Software vendors, the people who are designing this stuff, they should be using SSL, and that's going to stop us in a lot of cases. They should do the secure field for the cookie. That means that they're putting it inside of SSL. They're going to do automated logout functions so the session doesn't last very long and then to destroy the cookie afterward. Re-authenticate before critical actions like changing passwords, those kinds of things. They should be doing that. They're not. Regenerating the session ID after certain intervals. So now what we're doing is we're randomizing. This generates what's called a race condition. Create booby trap session IDs. So if there's somebody that's doing brute forcing against you, you look for those incremented session IDs. So if session ID number 1 and session ID number 50, those are valid ones. In between, there's one here that's 25. When somebody puts in that string of 25, it catches them. The intrusion detection system says, that's invalid. Somebody's trying to brute force us. So that's where you want to be careful about what you're submitting, or the intrusion detection is going to catch you. Auto expire session after a certain number of minutes of inactivity. This is auto logging out the user, so therefore that session ID is no longer good. So that means that, again, a race condition. We've got a limited amount of time. We just wait for those sessions and rebuild them. Enforce a number used once on the previous pages. Those nonces, numbers used once, then give them much more randomness in each one of those pages. Cryptographically strong session IDs. I don't know how that works for you. It's all a computing race at that point. Okay, 2 resources for you here on session hijacking. One is from Binghamton EDU and the other one's from me. The Binghamton is very, very specific. It talks about another view of how to teach you session hijacking. Remember, your 2 tools are EtterCap and HPing. If you need a lot more reading on this and you feel that you can go another step further and you want to be good at hijacking, go to the Expanding Security site and go to the readings on CEH-10 session hijacking. It will actually give you a lot of material where you can become great at session hijacking.